Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider for Blue Book Services. I have Anne Marie with me here, and we're in Austin, Texas. We will also see each other later this week at the Southeast Produce Council's Southern Innovations Show. This is some information that's going to be talked about at the show about organic produce. You got a really in-depth study, got some really deep data about the organic shopper. Why do we care so much about the organic shopper? Like, what's the big thing here? They do what for retail?
They bring in a lot of money. So organic produce shoppers, if you look at what they buy in the rest of the store in terms of seafood and meat and everything else in center store, their basket, as we call it, is worth almost 1.5 times more than the average shopper basket.
Okay.
So this organic produce shopper is extremely popular, and that's why everybody from the Aldis of this world to Walmart to everybody else is getting into the organic produce game.
Yeah, and the thing though that kind of has been a trend over the summer at least is to talk about how organic is no longer the double-digit growth just juggernaut that it was for the last, even since like 2010 up until about 2016, would you say?
Agreed.
We had about double-digit growth. It was just slam dunk. Whatever you put out, it was selling.
Yep.
But now the dollars are not quite keeping up. So what's going on with the organic growth?
Well, I think we have to take a step back and also talk about what is happening with the perimeter in general. So if you go that same timeline back, you saw that the perimeter almost doubled, if not like 2.5, 3 times higher than the sales in center store. And that has completely reversed.
Okay.
Actually, center store still makes up 60-70% of total sales and is now outgrowing the perimeter.
Yeah.
So in order for us to win in organic produce, I think the first battle is really winning in produce, fresh produce altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our first take, is that regular conventional vegetables are still doing okay. Fruit is slowing down, and I am wondering if the keto diet and all of the carb focused diets are starting to undermine fruit. And of course, we've seen a lot of growth, as you've reported on, in frozen and in center store produce snacks as well.
There's a whole lot of innovation in frozen lately, and it also fits with people's lifestyles. We've been talking as we drove around to see a whole lot of stores today about just some of the pain points that we have just in our own lives of, you buy all this food and then it goes bad before you end up using it.
Yep.
We're not the only ones, and frozen is seen as a solution for that because you can just
Absolutely.
throw it in the freezer and worry about it later. If you get to the end of the day and then you decide you're not going to make that 3-course meal, you're stuck with fresh ingredients.
Absolutely, and what we're seeing in frozen is that organic is actually a big growing attribute in frozen as well. So I would disagree with those who are believing that organic has seen its heyday or that it's slowing down. I think it is shifting to different areas of the store. Number one. Secondly, the bigger the organic pie is becoming, the harder it is to put the double-digit growth rates on the board. But what we are seeing is big regional differences. So if you look at the West Coast, that was one of the first to adopt organic produce. That's really where the growth is starting to slow down. If you look in the Southeast, for instance, there's still a lot of expansion, and they are still in double-digit growth figures. And so really it's up to the retailer to figure out, am I catering to that first initial shopper who adopted those main categories that we tend to see, the berries and apples and the bananas, or do I need to start moving on to other growth categories because all the other stores around me are now offering those basic organic items, and it's really time for me to find growth in added assortment. Now, when you
did mention though berries, I forgot.
Yeah.
When you talked about keto diets,
Yeah.
Kind of taking a bite out of a bite out of fruit sales. It's actually, if you look at it, there are a couple of exceptions. Berries are still growing quite well, and avocados, and those are both keto approved foods.
Yeah. See, there you go.
So
Yeah.
kind of lends a little bit of kind of just the story behind the numbers. So you mentioned the top 5 items in organic sales actually are not growing as fastly as they used to.
Yep.
And that's berries, apples, tomatoes, carrots, and bananas.
Right.
So maybe those are the items that retailers that were dabbling in organics that only want to provide the basics, like a discounter like Aldi, they've got that covered. You can get that in organic pretty much anywhere.
Yes.
So what are some items that are actually growing a little quicker that maybe people are more interested now?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think part of it is the fact that organics are becoming more widely available, and so for the basic assortment that really are entry categories and are still fantastic entry categories among folks that are not yet buying organic, but they're everywhere, so it's hard to compete on those. I think in those categories the price difference has become a whole lot less.
Yeah, there it is.
Which
so the dollars are less.
the growth becomes less as well, and so the same exact number of sales don't accelerate your sales as much as they used to. But we see other growth categories, and that's really where I think we can connect with those core consumers who started buying those big categories early on. And those are things like tangerines and kiwis and asparagus.
Berries are still in that, I believe. Kiwi fruit and cabbage.
Cabbage.
Cabbage,
There
who
you go.
knew?
Who
Organic
knew?
cabbage, but that fits in with keto and that fits in with vegetables.
Absolutely.
So more
And
people
I-
are looking at those.
Yeah, and I bet tangerines is probably highly related to parents with kids wanting to buy organic. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And you know, those are the growth categories that are still putting up very high double-digit numbers. But of course, the base is a lot smaller as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be hearing more from this new research from the Southeast Produce Council and the Power of Produce in the coming weeks. So thanks, Anne-Marie.
Thank you for having me.
Again, this is Produce with Pamela for Blue Book Services.